La ciencia es el futuro. Sin ciencia no hay futuro.
Hello, friends. I am Modesto Montoya from the channel Ciencia Peru.tv at the nuclear conference in Paris with the Lebanese nuclear physicist Annie Abrahamian. Thank you, Annie, for this interview. We'd like to get to know you better. Where in Lebanon were you born?
I was born in Beirut, yes, but we moved to the United States when I was 11 years old.
Your parents, which activity there?
My parents were, they both were tailors, so very nice clothes all the time. I had my whole life, but they were born in refugee camps in Lebanon because my grandparents were survivors of the Armenian Genocide. They walked through the Syrian deserts to Aleppo, and then from Aleppo to Beirut. They heard that Lebanon will give citizenship to the refugees. So my parents were born in this refugee camp in temporary housing. They were next door to each other. That's how they met.
Oh, yeah.
Complicated life.
How did you become a scientist?
I've always been very curious to understand how things work. So from the time I was very young, I realized the conflict of the world, and even amongst families, amongst people. And I was so determined to find out what is happening, what is the real facts here. And I thought science was going to save the world because I thought we will understand how things work, and people who have common interests will work together. We will not be biased by national and political situations. We will do our science because that's what we love. And we will find solutions for the world's problems. Sounds a bit naive, but that's what I thought.
At which university did you study?
So we immigrated to this town in Massachusetts called Worcester, Massachusetts. There were some immigrant families from some time before. And the university in town, there were 13 colleges and universities in town. I was a good student. I was top of my class in high school. And I received a scholarship to this university to attend for free. Actually, I was trying to learn a profession, like be a dental assistant or something. And my physics teacher in high school, I went to him for a letter, and he said, "Over my dead body, Abrahamian, you're not going to become a dental assistant." So I applied to the local university and got a full scholarship. The name is Clark University. And I went to Clark University. When I finished my undergraduate studies, I thought I would go to work, but I started a research project with a professor. I liked it very much. And he sent me to Brookhaven to do research. So I did my PhD at Brookhaven, but official through Clark University.
Brookhaven is very big laboratory. And I see that women are more and more in science. No?
Yes, that's true. Well, the year Notre Dame hired me, I was the first woman they hired who was not with. There was one woman before me. She was married to one of the physicists, so I was the first one just hired for me. But now there's maybe 10% more, even 15% of the faculty are women. And our students, as a nuclear physicist, our nuclear lab, we had something like 30% of the graduate students were women, and we had women postdocs. And the National Science Foundation, through which we get our funding, they thought it was because of me, but I don't know that. but we have a lot of women studying graduate studies in physics, in nuclear physics.
What is your
Field of research.
I'm a nuclear structure physicist. When I came to Notre Dame, our focal area for the lab is nuclear astrophysics. So I started to look into how nuclear structure affects nuclear astrophysics, as in the origin of the heavy elements, like some of these exotic nuclei. They are produced in something called the rapid neutron capture process. So I could relate what I knew in nuclear structure to understand better astrophysics.
But the very complicated structure, nuclear structure, too many parameters to
Yes.
vibrating, oscillating,
Experiment, yes.
many words for the to describe this phenomenon.
Yes,
Eh,
I think,
Equations are also complicated.
yes. Well, any quantum mechanical body, if we talk about atoms or molecules or nuclei, they're always in motion, right? So this motion can be rotation or vibration. And in nuclear physics, we don't seem to understand this low-lying vibration. Some people say there is no vibration.
Alfredo Povus said that no vibration, no rotation.
Well, what we know is what we see. And I'm always saying, okay, you disagree with me, show me the data.
Speaking of Lebanon, its problems are much more complex.
There are many problems. For a nuclear scientist, it's easy to understand that.
Well, my father always said to me, daughter, you are no politician. So he was right. I'm not a politician. Actually, 5 years ago, I went to Armenia. I wanted to start nuclear medicine in Armenia, and I did that. But the politics is always dangerous because people can make you an enemy if your politics isn't right. So I completely stay out of politics. But politics is people. People are complicated, greedy. So I'm very fond of something called the prisoner's game. Do you know it? The prisoner's game, basically, you can show with mathematics and physics that if everyone cooperates, everyone wins more than if one person.
Winner, win-win. Huh? I saw the film Charles Aznavour, fantastic, but his life is really. He was very difficult from the beginning. Huh? I suppose you know his life, of course.
Yes.
How may you resume in some
Yes.
words?
Well, his parents were also survivors of the Armenian Genocide. So this period was very tough. So there were survivors of the genocide that went to France, and this is the part of the family that he's from. As I said, my family went to Lebanon. So it's very heartbreaking for us. We were the first genocide of 20th century, but somehow the Jewish Holocaust was then second, and even Hitler had said, who remembers the Armenians that they're going to remember the Jews? So I think globally we're all losing by this very bad. And Turkey today does not acknowledge that this thing took place. But something happened that all these Armenians who were living in historic Armenia in Turkey got spread all over the world. How did they get there? So Turkey is a neighbor of Armenia. Armenia does not have very many nice neighbors, or any. Iran is a good neighbor of Armenia. And then there is Azerbaijan. They caused the displacement of 120,000 people last year, but the news was preoccupied with the Gaza and the Palestinians and the Israeli war. So it would be best if, for example, like Germany admitted that they did the Holocaust and they come over it. If Turkey would do that, then they could have nice neighbors with Armenia.
Would you please say something to the little girl
to become
scientist? It says, how, huh? Call them to science.
When I was hired at Notre Dame, that's what the dean said to me. He said, "We want you to be example for our young women to come into science." And actually, I wasn't going to take the job, but then I was sitting on the plane next to a very young girl who was so excited about what I could tell her about science. I think life in science is the most rewarding. In my life, I've had many opportunities to have other jobs that pay much more money with much less working time. But I love the idea of discovery and maybe helping humanity.
Thank you very much.
This has been Annie Abrahamian, nuclear physicist.
From Lebanon. Hasta nuestro próximo encuentro con la ciencia, amigos. Chao, chao.
La ciencia es el futuro. Sin ciencia no hay futuro.